being willing to commit to this. Got it. So we'll start as we always do with roll call. Michael, would you like to do that electronically by participants list?
I think that'll be fine. It looks like there's only 10 here, so I could just take roll from that if that's fine with everyone.
Absolutely. Anybody object to that? No. Okay. Then moving on from that, our approval of the minutes from April 4th and May 2nd. So we did send the minutes from April 4th out to the previous FSEC for approval. Josh, have you gotten any comments back on that?
There were no corrections.
Okay. Does anybody from this FSEC have any corrections to the May 2nd minutes? All right. Then can we have a vote to approve or a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve. Could you have two different motion because they're two separate?
Sure. First motion, go ahead and make the motion, Yuting.
Okay, I would like to move the first minutes on April 4th.
Need a second?
I'll second it. It's Elaine.
Thank you. All right, Michael, how do you want to?
We'll just hang on. Sorry, the computer's working slow. Just raise your hand if you're in favor of approving. You could just do it digitally, or I see all of you on the screen, so
Okay.
it's like 1, 2.
Let me see if I can get mine.
3.
I'll just raise my hand.
4. Let's see, a clap, 5. So it looks like 5 in favor. Am I seeing that correctly?
Oh, my hand was up,
yeah,
but I don't know where it went. There we go.
Yeah, I think it counted you,
Okay.
Sherry. 1, 2, 3. I think there's 5 in favor, opposed, or put your hands down. Opposed. Any opposed? And abstention. 2 abstention.
That would be me. I didn't attend.
Okay, no, that's fine. So 5 in favor, no opposed, 2 abstention.
All right, and thank you. Moving on to the May 2nd meetings, we need a motion for that.
And I made a motion to approve the May 2nd minutes.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Perfect.
And then all approved. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I'm counting that right. 4. It looks like 4
Yes.
approve.
Yes.
Opposed. No opposed, or I'm assuming Elaine, I think you still have your hand up. I'm assuming that was just from before.
Oh, yeah.
So it's okay. So no opposed, any abstention. It's 2 abstention. I'm sorry, 3 abstention. Sorry, just popped right up.
Sure. All right. Thank you very much for the approval of the minutes. Let's move on in our schedule. Next are my comments. So since we met last May, I have a couple of things I wanted to discuss, or at least bring to your attention. One is that I met with Council Deb Nelson about the consensual relationship policy at SIU. We had a motion, we created a resolution for an ad hoc committee to look into changing that policy based on the fact that it was incredibly outdated and that other comparable institutions have much more comprehensive policies. Deb Nelson informed me that that is something the administration is already working on. And that they're in very early stages. She's very happy to work with a committee from an ad hoc committee. And we can, Sherry, I think you and I should sit down and have a discussion about what that committee, what it's going to look like based on what the resolution was and whether or not we need to refine that a little bit. And I can put that up really fast. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go, share. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. So that is the resolution that we passed, I believe in May, for this ad hoc committee. So Deb, her office is very happy to work with this committee. As I mentioned, they're in early stages. So the idea was we form this committee, and by the time this committee is formed and ready to get working, they will have a draft of the policy, of the new policy, and then with the committee, along with other parties that have invested in this as well, will go back and forth, edit, revise till we get a workable policy that will then be voted on by the Senate. So I'm very encouraged by that particular meeting, and I think that we will be able to work together, and all parties will hopefully be as satisfied as they can be. The Faculty Advisory Committee for the SIU system sent out on the 30th a call for applications for a award for collaborative work between campuses. And so I just want to remind people that that is out there. It's a really great award. I'm really excited about it. We really want to reward people for working together between the two campuses. The closing date for applications is August 31st. We will send out a couple of reminders along the way, but just keep that in mind. And if you remember to pass that on to pretty much anybody that may or may not be collaborating across campuses, but might know someone that does, please do that. We would love to be flooded with applications for that award. I did meet with the VCR, who I invited to talk a little bit today. He's on the agenda after our committee work. Really briefly, I just wanted to mention attached to your email for this meeting was a description of a committee, an exploratory R1 committee that he's putting together. And I wanted to just have him talk a few words about that here, so we can, again, sort of refine exactly what, how many Senate members, how we want to put Senate into this process. But I'm really excited about that as well. And then the final thing I wanted to mention is for the fall, I would really like to get back to an in-person format. There is no rule that says one way or the other how the meeting should be. There is no, dictate in the operating paper that we even have to vote on this. So what I'm going to do for September's meeting is have it be an in-person meeting. There will be a hybrid option because we always will have the med school and it will always be hybrid, with the encouragement that members of Senate show up in person and only use hybrid as sort of a last minute option. And so that's how I would like to go forward. I do want your opinions on that. Any opinions outside of my own that you guys might have?
I'd like to echo your sentiments on that. I think it feels like more can get done if we're not behind Zoom. Obviously, for summer, for this format, this is understandable, but I think we need to encourage, return to normalcy.
Thank you. Any other comments from this group?
Yeah, I support.
Oh,
I support it too.
I think it might be a little, I think it might be a little rough at first, but I really think we're going to get so much more done if we can meet in a room. And as Lee Chang and I talked about, that also means that after the meetings, if everyone in a committee are available, they can just have their particular committee meeting right there. So it's a little bit more impetus for those things to occur. Okay, with that, that's, oh,
If I could say one other thing, if we do go back to in-person, we might have to consider the room that we're using. Because I'm
Yeah.
not sure that that one half of 752, I can't remember if, I think that's 752.
yeah.
I'm not sure if that has enough space to bring everybody back in, because I know in previous senates, we used both of those rooms.
Hmm.
And I can look and see if we're pulling that room, that second half of the room back into the fold because it was kind of being used for a project. So it
Yeah.
may be that we can expand into that space, but if not, we'll need to look for a larger room.
Okay, we do have 752 reserved for both Senate and EC, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Through all of next year. So yeah, I would love that if you could let us know if that's a thing.
Yeah, I'll find out.
Thank you. All right, any other comments about anything I said? Okay, great. Let's move on to the next part of our agenda, which is not me, because I did that. Elaine.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So, hello, everybody. The first that so still some vacant seats. I'm going to defer to the fall to look at re-elections of those seats because people are off over the summer. And I learned this week that Mike Eichholz's seat will also be the seat. So there will
Elaine,
You're kind of cutting out.
some elections.
Yeah, you're breaking up quite a bit.
I'm sorry,
Oh, you're breaking up quite a bit.
you can't hear me.
We can hear you, but
You know what?
it's
My connectivity is really poor.
Tell them where
Yeah.
you are.
My connectivity is really poor. So let me just put it in the chat. And
Okay. With your camera off might be better. Want to try with your camera off? All right.
sure, I'm having some connectivity issues. So I just turned the camera off. Is this any better?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just make it short and sweet. We do have a couple of positions vacant that we were not able in the spring election, so we will be up for candidates once school resumes in the fall. And I'm also going to add to that opening it with Mike Eichholz. He's resigning. I've learned this past week. He's going to be resigning from our faculty senate to another position. We need to find in the new year. And that's all I have to report for now.
All right, thank you. You cut out a little bit at the end there. Your last couple sentences, if you want to throw those in the chat, that would be awesome.
I can probably update what she's trying to say real quick. So we'll have 2 vacancies on Senate as of now. And then we will need to replace or vote in the proxy for the School of Law. So we technically have 2 vacancies and then we have 1 proxy that's filling in. So
Man, we're on top of it. We're more on top of it than we've been in several years. That's awesome. All right, moving on. We currently do not have a budget committee chair. That was at one point going to be Mike Eichholz, who is had taken at least a partial administrative position. So congratulations to him, but we have not had time to get another chair in place for that committee. So right now it's to be determined. So we will move on from that to Committee on Committees.
Okay, I believe everybody is in possession of the campus committee assignments. Josh sent those out. And do we need to vote on that today? On the acceptance of those
Hold on, let
committee
me,
assignments?
yes, yeah. Let me pull
So,
those up. I want to put them on. I just got to pull them up really fast. Well, I had them. Oh no, not that. Sorry guys, give me 1 second.
I can do it if you like.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
you want to throw those up there? Now, this is the work of the previous committee on committees. We can't take any credit for this. Much appreciated, great work. And so these are the assignments, and unless anybody has, any issues with this, we could probably go forward with a motion to approve.
So just really briefly, Elaine brought up that they need to be voted on by the entire FS. The EC voted last year, but since it was a different EC, I say we go ahead and do a vote with this EC as well.
I did remove, I believe, I can't remember, I'd have to go back, but one of the committees did get removed because it's no longer a committee. So this is kind of actually a new
list, a new gathering. Okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah, and when I say we, I really mean Josh is in the process of going through the committees and updating information. And so we may have some changes. We're also gonna be adding the SIU Press editorial board. So we'll have some work to do this year. And in the meantime, Josh is going to be updating, but this is where we are. So
perfect. And I have never heard of most of these, which is amazing. All right, so we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I second.
All right, all in favor? Just raise your hand. It's like, okay, sorry. There we go. So it's easier to count with. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 7 approved. Opposed, assuming none. And abstention, none. So, all right. Motion approved.
Thank you.
okay. Other than that, I think that I pretty much have covered everything that we need to talk about today. The only other suggestion that I have, and this could be changed if we're going to start meeting in person, but I was going to suggest that we add an agenda item when the Senate turns over. It would be nice to add an agenda item where once the committees have been formed and approved, that we have either a breakout session where everybody goes and chooses their chair of their committee and then comes back and reports that. In the past, we did that at the end of our that first meeting, the first meeting of that new Senate. But I think, given if it had to be online, we could form breakout rooms and the chairs would have to be reported by the end of that meeting, because we've had a little bit of difficulty getting our chairs in place this year. But that's my only other comment.
Okay,
So,
awesome.
thank you.
I think we can make that happen. And as I mentioned, you and I should sit down and talk about the committee on constitutional relationships, because it's very vague as it is now. I'm happy to modify that if we need to. And we can talk to a couple of other people that have spearheaded this, including Rachel Whaley, who I believe is still on Senate, but no longer EC or UEPC co-chair. So she's,
and of course, I think we would want Josh to be included in that, because really we would be responsible for adding the faculty to that committee, but the other constituencies would want to, I think, have their opportunity to appoint someone from their constituency.
Yeah. So Elaine mentioned the chairs will need to be voted on. Oh, wrong button. Wrong button.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
I
I
think-
looked at the operating papers and I did not see that the chairs are voted on by EC because those committees elect their own chairs. And so the way I view that, not to be argumentative or anything, the way I view that, it doesn't look to me like we approve the committee's selection of the chair. If the committee selected their chair, then
They
you know.
selected their chair.
That would actually be, there would be no procedural way to have the chairs who serve on the EC then be approved by the EC.
right.
very true.
So
Okay, that sounds.
So I think we can forego that.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. Yuting, did you have a question or comment?
Well, a comment. I think this year is kind of a combination of traditional practice and also COVID-19 online Zoom meetings. So, in the past 3 years, what we did is that pretty much once the new faculty senate was established at the end of April, and the new president immediately contact the chair of committee on committee who send a message to each committee, subcommittee or standing committee and ask them to do nomination and certification and then forward the name to the faculty senate to verify. That's what we did in the past 3 years.
That's what we did, Yuting. That's what we did.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sherry. Yes, for our July's agenda, we don't need an item to vote before anything else. Let's vote to certify the co-chairs or chairs of standing committee by the committee members, faculty senate members.
Yuting, are you saying the whole Senate or just the
Also,
committee?
yes, whole senate.
Okay, so we were saying that there is nothing in the operating paper that states that that is something that needs to be done. The only thing the operating paper says is committee chairs will be voted on by the committee.
I know, I agree. Not everything is written in the opening paper, but in terms of procedure, in terms of support from all faculty senate, or even part of the record, it's good that if you check the records, let's say the minutes, 2021, 2022, pretty much all the chair, co-chair were voted, approved by whole faculty senators.
That is correct.
We didn't do that in the past when I chaired committee on committees in the past and served on committees. That's not something that we did in the past.
Well, I know. Again, time changed, Sherry. That's why it's good. Let at least let the faculty senate have a voice. I do not think they will oppose it.
No, it's not that they won't oppose it. It's just I want to maintain a literal interpretation of the operating paper for the Senate. So I think we will forego the full Senate vote with the understanding that the committee members, since they are full Senate, giving their approval is approval enough for the full Senate.
Well, the operating paper does not say that the faculty senate cannot vote either. So
No.
it's a judgment call.
That's true. It is. We could argue this all day, but the words, what it does say in the operating paper is that the chairs will be voted on by the committee, and we have done that. So I'm going to stick by that for this Senate. The next president can change that back to whatever they feel like, but for this Senate, we are going to use that interpretation, that literal interpretation of the operating paper.
That's
So
fine.
our chairs, yep. So once the chairs are voted on by the committee, then those are the chairs. Thank you. All right. Anything else, COC?
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Sure. On to faculty status and welfare. Yuting.
Okay. I have a resolution here, and let me give you the background about this resolution. In fact, for the past years. In fact, the faculty senate president work very hard, and also they do not get any financial or course release benefits. So I also talked with the past 4 or 5 president of faculty senator, and they strongly support the idea at least one course release for whoever is the president of the faculty senator. And there are there are a few reasons for this. So first of all, based on the operating paper article, that means article 2B3A, faculty senate president shall serve as the presidium, and also fiscal officer shall speak for the senator in all fiscal matters. And second, okay, more specifically, and the faculty senate president will pretty much perform all the duties. As you can see the resolution, and I'm not going to read it word by word. And also, you know, faculty association at SIU here, that means president faculty association, SIU, and also other faculty senator, president or chairs elsewhere, usually they have at least a course release. So based on all these rationale, justification, and basically be it resolved that provost office, while consulting with the dean and officer and the chair of the respective unit in which the faculty senate president works, should consider granting the faculty senate president one course release a year. And again, for the state faculty status welfare committee, we had a vote and all supported except one. That's the background information. I would be willing to, again, maybe some information would be different. I'm willing to answer any question you may have. I know, Jeff, you have a question, then Li Chong, you have another one.
I don't have a question, I have a comment, which is that the Faculty Association president does not receive a course release or any additional compensation from SIU or the union. And you in fact inquired about this, and I told you that this was the case a couple months ago.
Thank you for.
This is inaccurate, and it cannot be part of this resolution.
Well, thank you, Jeff. You're right. Both you and as previous president didn't receive any course release, but in the contract, in the agreement, there is at least it is. I mean, it allows faculty association president to get a course release, even though you do not get it. So in theory, you will have. Thank you. Li Chong, then Sherry.
Yeah. Okay, let me lower my hands. Okay, so first of all, I fully support the resolution. However, I have two small comments. The first one, I don't know about the faculty association president, that one Jeff talked about. I will not comment on that. But the statement you said, other Illinois state universities could be changed to other Illinois public universities. And particularly if you have a few names put in there, that would be nice. You know, instead of Illinois State University, we'll say other Illinois public universities. But
Okay.
they're the same thing, right? That's mine. The second one, the last one, the comment I think is a one course release a year, or should we write academic year? But we all know, like a summer we do not teach. You know, if somebody choose, okay, I can choose summer. So I wasn't sure on that, but I fully support. I see so many functions, and then also this is good to allow the Senate president to focus on the issues at hand, because certainly there's a lot of important issues or concerns we need to address or we need to consider with the course load release that will allow the president to do or to focus more. Thank you.
Thank you. Based on your comments and also Jeff's comments, is it okay? Let's say I will revise it. Job the faculty association president SAUC just, cross, omit that sentence, or say, other faculty, senate president or chairs, then I list a few universities there. Would that be okay? Address your comments?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I will list ISU, Chicago State, and I listed 3 universities. West Illinois University, would that
They
be
are called public universities. Is that?
public? Okay,
Yeah, there's like Illinois public universities that will be,
okay, public
I think-
university,
yeah,
Okay.
instead of called state, they are the same thing, but,
public university. Okay,
yeah, thank you.
sure.
And Jeff, you're satisfied with the change?
Yeah, I'm satisfied with that. I just want to make it clear that the contract only allows for the release of a course for union members, and if the union compensates the university for that time. So this is categorically a different thing.
Okay.
Thank
So that's why I just deleted that sentence. That would be easier. Yeah. Thank you. With the change, and is it, is it okay? I'm going to move it to the agenda for next week. Oh, Sherry, yes.
I was just going to tell you that I think it's a good resolution, and I was just going to recommend those revisions, but I just wanted to
Thank you.
offer.
Any
my
other
support.
comments, questions?
Nope.
Okay, if you have no comments and question, I'm going to revise the thought, whereas basically other faculty senator and chairs at Illinois public universities have at least 1 course release. With this amendment or revision, is it okay? Let's move it.
Yeah, by the way, you say a year or academic year?
Oh, academic year, okay.
Because I'm not sure, to me, either way will be fine, the common sense will
Well,
be either spring or fall, so, but I just want to. make
so
it-
you suggest at an academic year rather than a year?
Yeah, but
So-
I'm 100% sure, maybe it's the same thing,
Would it be the
Attorney-
academic year following election?
6 or 7.
Is that your fuel?
That,
Gauge.
because I was thinking is when I say academic year, normally it's the
Seven in
fall and
red.
spring.
Here,
Yes.
that's the tachometer.
Oh, where's the fuel?
Elaine, we can hear your conversation, just so you know. I can't mute you for some reason.
Thank you, God.
Elaine, can you hear us?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
she
trying
doesn't
to,
know
I'm trying to,
tachometer.
Oh,
I'm trying to just, I didn't realize the microphone had unmuted. I apologize.
No worries, no worries.
So we were saying, would that be for the following year upon election, so that you then have the fall and the spring, you have 1 course release for the fall and in the spring? Could we clarify that?
Yeah.
We
like-
want for fall or
it's
spring.
fall or spring.
Yeah.
So basically, 1 academic year, you can choose get a course release in spring or in fall or in spring.
See, if we just add the word academic year, I think that will clarify everything.
I'm trying to say is just like not including summer or what I'm trying to say, but I don't know. If
Yeah, I think that,
Yeah,
I think Sherry was just trying to clarify the which academic year, the
Yeah.
one after the election.
Right.
and normally our academic year will start from fall, for instance, where academic year is fall 23, spring 24, this is called 1 academic year. And then we have fall 24 to spring 25, this is another academic year we call the AY 25, academic year 25. So this year, academic 24, that means fall 23 and spring 24. It's called AY 24.
Okay, Li Chang, would that be okay? Let's say academic year in which he or she serve as the faculty senate president.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes.
So have you revised the document as we've been talking, Yuting?
Yes, okay, let me read it to you. Okay,
Yes.
basically the two areas revisions. The first one where the thought whereas I'm going to delete the first part of the sentence with whereas other faculty senate president or chairs at Illinois Public University have at least one course release academic year.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah. And then therefore, and also you change the last sentence, okay, that means in which the faculty senate works and should consider, that means granting the faculty senate one course release academic year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's why. That's okay with you guys?
That's all right.
Okay.
Yes.
So if there are no comments, no revision, I'm going to move this with your suggestion, and I'm going to move it to the agenda for the General Faculty Senate meeting. Just put it on agenda next week. So I'm going to move it. Anyone second?
I second.
Second.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're going to vote.
All right. All in favor, raise your hand. See, 3, 4, 5. It looks like 6 in favor. Opposed. And abstention. Just one abstention. So.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to revise it and send to Josh, CC to all of you. Okay.
Thank you. Any other business, Yuting, from faculty status and welfare?
No, I think that's the main one. Thank you. And I know Jennifer Walker cannot be here. I covered for her. And that's it.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Moving on then to governance committee, Lee Chang.
Yes, Khalid and I, we haven't talked about it. I talked to a few members and we haven't set up a full agenda, but we already have quite a few. Hopefully, we will establish it soon. Thank you.
Would you like to be involved in the conversation about the ad hoc committee for the consensual relationship policy?
That's something I haven't thought about.
Give it some thought. Yeah, let me know.
Sounds interesting. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Any questions, anything, we solicit all the items we were talking about, like the annual meetings and those like revising the operating papers has been quite a few years, and then some of the terms are no longer like apply and those type of things. Yeah, what we are doing. Yeah, hopefully face-to-face meeting will help us a lot. Thank you.
I hope so. Okay. Yeah, I will CC you on those emails, and you can decide, you and your committee can decide how much you want to be involved in that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on then to UEPC. Jeff.
The UPC hasn't met yet. I've been trying to coordinate with them over the summer. Haven't gotten full responses. We have 3 RMEs that Josh sent us that are awaiting review, trying to coordinate and get our first meeting going. So that's our report.
I may have a 4th one for you. It was a joint with for our RME for a BS and an MS. So I of course don't have it with me because I'm not in my office. But I'll send that information to you as well. Is
that an accelerated MS?
Yeah, I believe. Was it? I'll have to get back to you.
Okay.
Because it was something that I wanted a little clarification since the RME had both of those degrees. on it. So I'll get more information and send that your way.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So we are down to the VCR. So thank you, VCR, for listening to the last 40 minutes of us ramble on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, colleagues, for inviting me. We aspire as a university, we're on record aspiring to reach R1 status in the Carnegie classification of universities. So I propose that we form a exploratory committee. This committee already has a number of members from HR, from the graduate school, from finance, from the deans, and I think that it's going to be very important for us. Oh, there it is. To also have participation from the faculty senate. The goal of the committee is, there are two goals. The number one goal is to find out where we are. We need to understand the criteria and metrics for the classification, where we stand, and so on. I was reading a book recently, and I copied down a sentence that said, "Despair is the price one pays for setting oneself an impossible aim." So we don't want to set ourselves an impossible aim if we cannot reach R1 within a reasonable amount of time. I think that we can. I really do. But if I may share my screen.
Oh, yes. Let me stop my share. There we go.
Thank you. I wanted to show you, let's see, there we go. This is the data, some of the data that they have used for our ranking in 2022. Keep in mind that the Carnegie classification rankings are 2 years behind data. So this data that you're looking at is 2020. Some of it is 1920 because it covers the academic year, and it was published in 1922. These are our associate degrees, our bachelor's, our master's, research doctorate, professional practice doctorates. This is other. This is total degrees. These are our STEM-related research expenditures. These are the non-STEM. This is the PhD non-faculty research staff. And these are faculty numbers. I can immediately tell you that this number is wrong. These numbers are heard. They are the NSF Higher Education Research and Development Report, and they include both external and internal expenditures. I'm sorry, Li-Chang, you had a question.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just like after your presentation.
Okay, so we all know that there are non-STEM research expenditures. There are GAs in the arts, in theater. There are GAs in the humanities. There is startup packages. There is even research, but we're showing zero. This is wrong. Second, this is the PhD degree non-faculty research staff. These are postdocs, research scientists, research professors, and so on. We have more than 10. Just the centers which I supervise have more than 10. So this number is wrong too. Yesterday, I had a meeting with Nick Wortman. If you don't know who Nick Wortman is, he's the brand new HR person. He agrees that these numbers are incorrect. He said that he had to do the same thing in his previous institution, Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, and we will fix these. I'm meeting with Susan Simmers to find out why are we indicating that we have zero non-STEM expenditures. These numbers, our degree numbers, are correct based on 2019-2020. The expenditures are incorrect. The faculty numbers, we're not sure if it includes NTTs. I don't believe we have 850 tenure track faculty. Why is this important? Because a lot of the classification is based on averages. So if you divide all these numbers by the wrong number of faculty, you're getting a wrong number. So our first step is to figure out what we're reporting and make sure that we're reporting it correctly. The second thing is to inform the faculty through the faculty senate, through the graduate council, as well as our students through the Graduate and Professional Student Council of where we are, and then decide collectively what we need to do to move towards R1. And I'm going to be honest with you, we might come to the point where we say we don't want to pay that price. All right, that's too expensive. I don't think that's the case. I really don't. But this is a decision that we need to make collectively based on correct information. We need to know where we are, so we need to know which direction we need to take. The Faculty Senate, the Graduate Council are going to be extremely important in issues that may have to do with curriculum, that may have with potentially operating papers, potentially new degrees. This is why I would like to have a very robust participation. And I will open the floor to any questions you have.
Go ahead, Li Chang.
Oh, hi. Yes. Thank you very much. I think certainly I'm very excited when I received the document. I said, okay, this is what I hope we can go for a long, long time. But finally it comes to, I was wondering, I have a question, but I was wondering whether you are aware of any kind of other universities just recently being promoted to R1.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I served in one of them. I served at the University of North Texas when we were R2. We then rose to R1. Then we fell back to R2, and then we went back to R1. And there is at the University of North Texas a committee at the provost level for R1 that keeps track of what they're doing and ensures that they don't slide back to R2 again. So I am aware of that. Yes.
That's very encouraging. At least you're aware of, and also you serve in this committee. And the most recent one I'm aware of is the University of Memphis. They last year or the year before, they were promoted to R1.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, the other universities are not standing still. They have committees like this one. They have aspirations like ours. They do the things that need to be done to move up. So we need to continue this process. And also, it is extremely important for us to stay at least as a very solid R2, and then keep moving up. Whatever we do in the next couple of years, unfortunately, we have a delay because, as I said, the data that's collected or the ranking is two years behind. If we collect our data for fiscal 24, we're not going to see an impact until 26. So the sooner we start, at least reporting correctly, the sooner we start taking the necessary steps, the sooner we'll be able to see the impact of these choices.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Michael?
Oh, I think Yu-Ting had his.
Yu-Ting was first.
I'm sorry. Okay, Yu-Ting? That's why I like Teams, because it shows you it shows you the sequence, so you know who it is.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Zozanis, for your notes as well as spreadsheet. Very important. My common sense told me that, okay, we should have become R1 a few years back. I know 2 or 3 years ago, when I was the faculty senator, asked Indian vice chancellor for research, show the data. Again, I didn't get the detailed data like this. I think the common sense told us that, okay, there are 3 very clear criteria. Number 1, research expense. Yes, way more reach that. Okay. And number 2, the number of doctor students, both in STEM, non-STEM area, which we do have enough. And then, the full-time research staff member, the postdoc, you're absolutely right, more than 10, based on my experience. So the problem was that, okay, institutional research office could have dealt with this long time ago. We didn't have the director for the past 5 or 6 years. And therefore, some data there, maybe some old data, inaccurate data. And I remember that when Walter Windner, way before I came here, Walter Windner, who was the president, chancellor of SIU, he had Southern 2025. And he had a list of peer institutions such as the Open University, Kansas State University, Ohio University, Washington State University, Oklahoma State University. That's, 15 years ago, that's peer university. All of them became Research One University. That's why we're not too far from Research One. We could have been there. And one of the faculty members, half a year ago, during one of the meetings, mentioned that we reached R1, but we couldn't find the data, didn't find this. We tried to search this. Again, my comments is that thank you so much for sharing with me, and I strongly support for this.
Thank you. Let me say that if you look at the Carnegie classification data, yes, we were R1 in 2000. That's 2000 in terms of universities is infinity, right? It really doesn't matter. It's with 25 years ahead. Let me also say that we never reported incorrect data. Our data has always been correctly reported. We code data incorrectly. So to give you an example, when we pay a GA, all these comes from a single pot of money. In other words, the GA salaries are not classified per college. In other words, all GAs are created equal. So how can we say that what our non-STEM expenditures are when we don't keep track of them? I'm not going to blame reporting. I'm going to blame coding. We also never asked the foundation to report research expenditures. I'm working with the foundation because they spend millions every year in internal research expenditures. So these are the things that we're trying to do. First of all, let's find out where we are. Michael.
Thank you. I'm really happy to see the VCR taking this direction. Finally. I guess I think. I've been hearing this for years. Since I've been here, this aspiration to be an R1. And my fear, and I just kind of quickly looked up some of the other R2s even, like where do we stack relative to other R2s even? Are we putting the cart before, the horse here and really thinking, how do we maintain a solid R2 stance? Because, in a lot of departments and programs, we don't even have the faculty to meet the needs in some cases. And we're seeing things, kind of, essentially amount to people, doing multiple jobs, which is leading to things like burnout, leading to departures from the university. So while I think the goal of R1 is a good one, I don't think it's a bad, it's always shoot for the stars here, but, should this committee not so much be focused on that R1, but like maintaining what that R2, and I agree. It if it comes down to coding or however, I mean that needs to be clarified. It seems like better reporting, regardless of intent, needs to happen because we need better pictures here in order to kind of evaluate it.
Right. Now, I agree with you 100%. And I've read horror stories of universities that tried to do that, and one way of doing it is just spending a lot of money internally and then failing completely. As we aspire to R1, we're also improving our R2 position. If I may share my screen again, I want to show you this. This shows where we are, since you mentioned how far are we. Here is where we are. If you can see my mouse, the little plus is where we stand in terms of R2 right now. These are the R1 universities, these are the R2, these are the R3s. So if we go to our non-STEM expenditures, which are incorrect, and we make it 4 million, you see where we're going, right? Mm-hmm. Just 4 million, 2 million, 5 million. This is just reporting correctly. These are our doctorates and so on. Now, this is the research staff. This is the newer data, it's 11. Unfortunately, I cannot increase more than in hundreds But if we go at 100, we'd be our one.
Wow.
Bottom line is we're not that far if we reported things correctly. So I know we're not going to have 100 research staff. I get that. This is a feature or an error in that thing. Also, the year that we just reported, 21, some of our PhD numbers were lower. So we may see the numbers go down. Also here it shows 912 faculty. We don't have 912 faculty. I wish we did. So we may be maybe closer to 700. So, and I'm playing with this. I'm not 100% sure the data are 100% correct. The visualization is based on what the creators of this website thought that the weights are. So a lot of maybes, but we're not that far.
That's a beautiful way to look at that. Yeah.
So I have a question, if I may.
Really quick.
I just wondered if library materials expenditures were calculated into that number.
It's a good question.
It's a very good question, and I don't know. I have to sit down with Susan Simmers and Charlie Cox and find out exactly what we are reporting. If library materials that are directly related to research would absolutely count as internal research expenditures.
Yeah, okay, because we spend quite a bit on, subscriptions to databases and things like that. But, and we are an ARL library. And, so I just wondered, okay, thank you.
Just so you know, this fiscal year, I went through hundreds or thousands of lines of expenditures, and we identified 500,000 in expenditures that were research related that we were not reporting because they were not coded correctly. Wow. I'm sure there is more. In my previous institution, we're reporting about 50 million, and we identified an additional 5. So we're not the only ones who don't code things correctly. But I appreciate the feedback about the libraries, and I think we need to have a conversation as well.
Yiting, really quickly, because we still have your ad hoc committee to go.
Yeah, very quick comment. Okay. Do you think, Dr. Zozanis, do you think you can share the the data with us, send to us? I think the screen data, that's very helpful. I appreciate you if you can share with us. And second, okay, I think for the number of faculty member, before the reorganization or before the no budget time, we had just tenure track. We had almost almost 1,000. Okay, currently based on tenure track again. Okay, before we talk about currently, then we didn't have budget for 3 years. Then reorganization, we lost almost 400 faculty members, tenure tracked. So currently, if we include tenure tracked NTT or part-timer, maybe altogether around 1,200. Again, almost half or 45% are non-tenure or part-timers. This is what I know based on the information. Again, anything could be updated. Thank you.
Yeah, and as I said, I had a meeting yesterday with the new director of HR. We want to ensure that what we are reporting to iPads, because this comes directly from iPads, is correct versus tenure track, according, tenure track versus NTTs. So we make sure that then the averages are computed correctly for the Carnegie classification. I don't know for sure if our numbers are incorrect, but I know for sure the numbers of PhD non-faculty researchers are incorrect, and so are non-STEM expenditures. So these are the things that we're working to fix. And I appreciate we're working, as I said, with the foundation, with HR, with finance, and now we're going to work with the libraries as well.
All right, thank you very much. If you don't mind joining us again for the full FS meeting, and we may repeat some of these things, but I think it would be wonderful to have you there to discuss this with the full Senate as well.
Absolutely. It's already on my calendar. If it's on my calendar, I'll do it. If it's not on my calendar, I don't know it exists. So,
Fair
I'll
enough.
definitely be there.
Jeff, one quick.
Yeah, I just want to make a very quick comment that according to my list of faculty, what I get through being faculty association, there might be some doubles of names here, but we have just over 450 tenured and tenure track faculty. So that 900 is about twice the size of what it should be. There's a little give there, but that's closer.
Thank you. And as I said, this is going to reporting correctly is step number one, and it will have a great impact in our classification. If you have a 20% difference in what you report from year to year, they got back to you and they want you to explain it. And I hope that really happens, that our numbers are improved at least 20%.
Yeah. Right.
Beth, would you like me to stay or?
That is up to you entirely. If you have other things to do, feel free to depart.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for allowing me to join you. And I will be there next Tuesday to discuss it with the whole faculty senate. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. So Provost, we have one quick thing to do. So sorry to keep you waiting for one more report, but we will be there in 1 second. So our last committee report is from the Ad Hoc Committee on Institutional Ranking and Educational Quality.
Okay, thank you. Very briefly, we are kind of behind the schedule. In the summer, we do not have much going on except we updated our committee list, and I think we are going to focus on the phase two of our task force. And as I mentioned, we have 3 subcommittees, 3 groups. Group 1 focus on student success and support. Group 2 focus on academic reputation and relationship. And Group 3 focus on faculty quality and faculty-student ratio. So pretty much that's it. We'll give you more update when faculty member come back. Elaine, do you want have anything to add?
I think we'll take that as a nod at this time.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so we have gotten through our committees really quickly. Is there any old business? Is there any new business? All right, perfect. Let us go to our invited guests. We have both the Chancellor and the Provost here. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us. And I'd like to welcome the Provost to not only this meeting and to our small representation of faculty here, but to, welcome to SIU. And we really hope that as many of us as possible get to meet with you and really have a chance to tell you what our experiences are like. And we're very, very excited that you're here. So welcome. So in terms of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you. I'm looking forward to getting to work with all of you. And for those I've met a few of you during this search, and it's nice to see faces that I recognize. And I'm looking forward to meeting the rest of you.
Same here. So I think what we'll do is have each one of you give a report. If that's all right with you, we can start with Chancellor Lane and then move on to Provost Tucker. And then after that, we can have a Q&A. Is that okay with everybody? All right, let's get started. Chancellor Lane, how's your summer?
Thank you, President Rader. Congratulations in taking on the role of Faculty Senate President. So to you and the rest of the executive committee, it's good to see you guys, first and foremost. I feel like I haven't seen some of you in a while. So it's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a great summer. Can't believe it's already July. So that means we're almost about a month out from school starting again. So that was quick. And we've got a lot of work to do between now and then. I will tell you, it is very refreshing to have our provost here on board. I can tell you she's hit the ground running. and she knows what she's doing, and she can't wait to get out and about when folks come back. I know she's been already out and about talking to a lot of people and getting downloaded. Tomorrow we have I think, Cheryl, we got our full day download for her tomorrow. So she won't look so happy right now. After we got about a 6 hour straight back to back folks that will come in and just download and give her some updates on some good things that we're doing and things we need to get addressed. So let me start with our retreat that we had a couple of weeks ago over at Giant City. This is something we do every year. It's what we call a close the loop retreat. And the cabinet members are there. And we're typically, I know Dr. Lee will appreciate this, we're typically going over our unit effectiveness plans in terms of how we performed with the goals, the objectives, and those things inside of the Imagine 2030, the strategic plan. So it's our way of keeping that plan alive and making sure that we hold ourselves accountable to really accomplishing those goals that we want to accomplish. And in some cases, tweak or shift gears in some areas where we've identified some low-hanging fruit, things that we really need to work on and focus on. So it was the first time in at least my 3 years of being here that, and this may not be good to say out loud, but I felt like Matt Ballman actually said it, but it was the first time I had my entire cabinet in place with no interims. And that was pretty refreshing to see people that were permanent people sharing ideas and thoughts about how we can better support faculty, staff, students, alums, community. But folks that really, I think you're going to really enjoy the continued working relationship with folks that have a mindset to serve and most importantly, to listen. I think that's going to be really a theme that you're going to appreciate is you've got a group of administrators that will listen to you and that will not dismiss or, not take the time to listen to what you're saying. So that felt really good the other day, and we talked about that. So in that meeting, we also start to craft the goals for the next year. For obviously 2023, 2024, knowing that the Imagine 2030 plan still has really about 6.5, 7 years left on it. So it's really our job at that point to make sure we're staying on the right track and staying focused. So great conversations. We do have a few new folks that you saw us announce, the new HR director. Nick brings a lot of experience from Ohio University. He's going to do a really good job. No offense to anyone that worked in HR, but you guys know in our conversations that we had, there's some streamlining of some things that need to occur in HR. There's some business processes that need to be worked on. He is going to be very helpful in helping us get to that point. And so I'm really refreshed to see him there. We made a move to take EEOC and affirmative action out of Vice Chancellor Dr. Frazier's area and put it inside of human resources. I think years ago it was actually there before, but we made the move to take it back and move it into that HR area. That way it really put Dr. Frazier in a really tough predicament in some cases where he had to be kind of the judge and jury and still be a cabinet member. And it made some people, and in all fairness, not really sure if they wanted to go to that office with a grievance or a complaint because he's really still tied to cabinet. So it really didn't have the best fit for where it was. Now it sits in a more neutral area. I don't supervise HR. That's coming under Susan Simmers, our CFO. And really, if you get a chance to meet Nick, I think it would be really good, Bethany, if you get a chance to kind of talk to him and rest of the executive committee as well, to hear some of the things that he wants to do to streamline a lot of what we're doing. And also, obviously, when we get into some areas that deal with grievances or Title IX complaints and those kinds of things, we think it's going to be best handled in an area that has a little more a little more neutral location for all of us to be able to listen to. So you're going to see a lot and hear a lot about that. We finally hired our institutional effectiveness research and planning director. You're going to really enjoy him. He comes from Old Dominion University. That's David Shirley. A lot of experience in the IEIR world. He's already hit the ground running as well. Does a lot with data. Which is exactly what we need. And he lives in it. And Cheryl's shaking her head because Cheryl's already hit him up for a few things as well. So, you know, he's going to be really good for us. And he's going to be able to help me even when I get on the calls with the Executive Committee for Faculty Senate and with our full Faculty Senate. I'm going to bring him in a little bit more to have him give kind of that data overview that I think you would want to have. And so instead of us kind of talking about it, we'll just have him really be there to kind of help. So maybe periodically, Bethany, if that's okay, we'll bring him into the mix, and I know he'll be able to help. From an enrollment standpoint, you guys know, I'm always cautiously optimistic. So I don't like to show too many of the cards here, but right now, and it's early, we still have, as I mentioned, until the 10th class day. So I don't want anyone running out and saying, oh, we're going to be up, or we're going to be, it really is not the time to do that. Although the numbers look very promising. And a lot of that is credit to our faculty, our staff, our students, our deans. Those folks are working like crazy to not only recruit new students to come in, but to also look at the retention of students that we already have here at the institution. So let me just kind of give you a snapshot, figure out if I can pull this up or not. I did want you to kind of get a good visual here. Just one second. Can you guys see that?
No.
Not do anything? Okay, let's do this. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so this kind of gives you a general idea about what we look like as we look at our admissions funnel. So as you can see, we always look at the total number of applications. That tells us when people say, are people interested in SIU Carbondale? Yeah, they really are. And so that number is up almost 20% in terms of the apps that are coming in. So a lot of work to try and actually get people interested in the university. Doesn't stop there though. So we've got to yield those applications to admits. So you get a good idea about what we look like from the applications, who we actually admit. That's up about 4.6%. Then you get down to how many actually enroll. And as you can see, that number is up about 5%. We look at Southern Illinois. You remember this was a big piece about us red carpeting the region and wanting to make sure students stay home and that we don't lose students to neighboring states and other schools that have tried to recruit our students away for a number of years. So feeling pretty good about keeping a lot of our students home. There are a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, more of a ground game and recruiting that's helping that out. Illinois residents overall, that's up. This helps when we talk to IBHE and our state reps, our senators, folks that have really preached about keeping our students in the state of Illinois and not having them go outside. So that seems to be working well. Non-residents, that's an area that's down. We think that, again, we're going to be able to increase that in the next month here, something we are working on. If you look by population of students, we're up. The African-American student population, Hispanic population, we're up as well. You guys heard me mention about a week or so ago after the Supreme Court decision that came out striking down the race-based admission. We didn't admit based on race, but I want to be mindful just because we don't do that. I just want to show that we still have active efforts to make sure we have a diverse campus community, and that will continue on. And so as you can see, our numbers are up and we feel pretty good about that. Number we're worried about, we talk about this often when we're talking about enrollment, Caucasian students, particularly Caucasian males. And that's an area in our region, particularly where we sit, we should be up. And there's something there that's driving that number down. I don't know if it's those students or those individuals are going straight to work, or if they're going to other institutions, or if they're going to community colleges. We've got to find out what's going on with that number, but it should be up, and that's something we're going to be working on. Our transfer numbers are up, as you can see, 2.1%. That's an area we know a lot of the Saluki Step Ahead, the partnerships with community colleges. If you're asking, well, is that working? I would be safe to say it's working now. We're starting to see that move in another direction. Tomorrow, we're actually hosting Lone Star College out of Texas. That's about a 100,000 student system. We're bringing their advisors up. They're in the LSC online, which has about 20 to 30,000 students taking classes fully online. We're really going to flat out, we're asking them to transfer their students who are fully online in their program directly into our fully online program. To just get a percentage of those students would be ideal. So working with them on that, we'll have them here for a day and a half. So they'll be in, they'll go through, they'll take tours, and then they'll get back out of here. I think Thursday night is when they'll go back. But that's the idea. We'll do that with Dallas College or Dallas Community College District. New name is Dallas College now. We'll work with them. And then some of the other places out of state. So really want to push that transfer piece up. What's not on here is our SIU online or SIU Extended Campus. Those numbers were reported today by Susan Wegman. The fully online portion of those students is up. That's a very good thing as well. So we're going to be really pushing that going forward. Dr. Wang, you got a question there? See your
Yes,
hand.
I was wondering on the red column, what do you mean the red numbers? Cohort is down 0.78 and also readmit like down. What does that mean?
Yeah, so when we start looking at our continuing student population, as you can see, that continuing piece is about 1%. When you look at the cohorts that come in, the student groups that are coming in by cohort, that's down 0.78. So we're talking about readmits, we're talking about getting students, retention of those students and making sure that those students continue on. That's that population we're always watching for, is in the actual cohorts of those students.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And you know, it's a constant effort. Some of the work we're doing is going back to those old 6-year and 4-year cohorts when those students started, to find out what happened to them. You know, did they transfer? Did they just stop? Can we get any of them back? So a lot of effort there in that regard to try and get those cohorts back up. That's how we obviously grade ourselves on graduation rates and those kinds of things. Dr. Lee?
Thank you so much, Chancellor Nan, for sharing the data with us. It's good to see you here. I have 2 comments, okay, with regard to undergraduate admission data. Do you have like graduate data, so, you know, which, I mean, I couldn't see here. And second, okay, we know that in the past, international students are pretty much important, both for undergraduate and graduate. Do you have any update?
We do. So I don't have it here at my fingertips, but I will send you what Kostas Satsoulis presented today. Great question, Dr. Lee. You're going to be excited because in our graduate student population, there is an increase as well. So as you remember, when we were working together about a year ago, we were a decrease. So right now we got to hold that number. Again, it's not 10th class day, but Kostas did actually present an increase in the graduate student population. And I'll send that after this meeting to you and to Bethany. And you can spread that around. It's not a secret, but just a disclaimer. It's not 10th class day yet. So just make sure we don't say we're up too much until we get the final numbers there. So that kind of gives you just a snapshot into the enrollment piece. lot of discussion going forward, and I want this group to hear firsthand. We are going to be targeting two critical areas. One is SIU Extended Campus or SIU Online. Needs your help and support as we start to grow. We think that's where the growth is going to come from, is from fully online students, non-traditional students that are out there, some that want to finish up, some that want to get started. And that also drives our DE, the funding, right? It drives, what we put out online, what we offer out there is going to drive some financial pieces as well. So that's one area we're going to need some help with this year. We've partnered up, or we'll partner up with academic partnerships. It's going to help us, get out there in a larger way across the country to really start to showcase the programs that we offer and how students can complete those programs with flexibility, convenience, those kinds of things. Obviously, number one is quality. So we're not going to put things out there that don't have the quality piece there. And I know Cheryl and the deans will work to make sure that happens. The other area is Chicago. We're starting to look at some real estate in the Chicago area. It's not enough to just have some of the university centers and the partnerships with the community colleges. We need to have a physical presence in Chicago in order to grow our enrollment if we want to hit some of those targets that we want to hit by 2030. We're looking at some areas that not downtown, but out more towards Skokie and Des Plaines, some of those areas that are in between some of our community college partners, where students can actually go to a campus. So it'd be more like an SIU Carbondale at Chicago, kind of a setup. And we think that's really going to help us move the needle a little faster inside of that plan. But a lot of work you'll hear about this year as we start the fall. I'll make sure you're connected with that so you know and get a sense of what we are looking at from a real estate perspective. Something that's probably close to 50, 60,000 square feet. So not a full campus, but big enough where we could actually have a nice presence. We don't have believe it or not, a lot of competition. If you're looking around Chicago, we don't compete with Northwestern or University of Chicago or some of the other ones like Roosevelt and some of those other institutions, DePaul. And right now, I think the only four-year institution that's got an on-ground presence there, believe it or not, is Notre Dame. And I think they're doing something with their MBA in that area. So, you don't have a lot of, you would think Illinois State or Northern or those places would have, they recruit hard in Chicago, but they don't have that physical location there. So we're going to be working on that as we go forward. Final thing I'll say, and then I'll stop, and this kind of feeds into what Cheryl and I have been working on. We've got to do a better job in how we work with incoming freshmen, particularly those who are undecided. We've just received more data today from David, the data guy, and I love it because you don't even have to ask him for this information. So he's just kind of turning it out, but because he knows what we're talking about or worried about. But the exploratory studies, if you look at our retention rates, our progression rates, our graduation rates, you can almost guess the population that's struggling the most, right? And it's going to be students that are in exploratory studies. We don't even need the predictive analytics to tell us, if there are students that come in that are not at a 275, or maybe that are students that come in that are undecided, they're going to be the most at risk. And it just so happens that those students are African American. Those students could be Hispanic. They can be Pell eligible students. They can be first generation students. And, we sit them in kind of a holding tank for a year, hoping that maybe they will decide on a major at the end of that year. In some cases, again, we have data that shows that some are not even doing that. So, we have a vulnerable population where if we put some attention on those students, we probably do a better job overall in the retention rates from fall to spring, fall to fall. So we are going to focus heavily on beefing that up. Many of you were here years ago. You remember the different support programs that were here that really supported them when we hit the budget impasse and those kinds of things. Those are the first programs that were cut. So we are going to have to revisit going back to provide support. We know with future scholars, it's a smaller cohort, but we know when we bring in students that are below a 275 and we give them the support services, that those students have a 98% success rate. And these are students we would have never admitted. Those students are here now. We have 50 of them here. They just started last week. And again, we expect to have another higher success rate with those students. So using that model and scaling it inside of exploratory studies, what we're going to work on. We also, in Cheryl's area, I'll let her talk a little bit about the need to create this Center for Student Success that really helps students in a number of ways. I'll let her talk about that, but that's something that will be housed in her area. She's got some great thoughts about how we can help the entire student population that's out there. So those are just a few things that we're kind of working through, sort of post-retreat, things that we need to really focus on. Final piece, and I promise I'll stop, and Jeff, I'll get you there. Budget. We're closing the books on fiscal year 2023. Should have that all closed up by next week. We're taking a hard look this year because of our last year or two on the payback. I found out that we didn't have a payback in fiscal year 19. So I'm asking for a little relief from the president and the board to let us slide on a year there, give us another year to kind of pay it down because they didn't do it in 19. So I think we've got that relief, but we still have to finish out the payback piece. The state appropriation came in 5.5 million more. And that triggers, Jeff, some things on the faculty side in terms of some increases. So we will be talking about that with Jeff and some others in terms of how we come out. Cheryl obviously included with how we will come out in that area. Other than that, on the budget front, I think those are probably the biggest announcements there. So Jeff, I'll stop there, take a question that you may have.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about the partnership you mentioned with academic partnerships. So I really two questions. First, are these new online programs, or are they partnering with existing online programs and trying to expand those in some way? And then I know that these OPMs can have some can take a pretty big cut of our tuition. Do you know the terms of our deal with academic partnerships on the tuition side?
Yeah, so two pieces here. They have suggested in looking at more of our graduate programs to really help us beef them up and get them out, knowing that obviously we have some undergraduate programs that will benefit as well from just the marketing of those programs to make sure students know about them. What we've done is essentially just put a program online without it being marketed as flexible or convenient or from a cost perspective, things that you'll see Purdue Global doing, Arizona State Online. You'll see those places do it a little bit more. We're trying to get more into that space and using academic partnerships for the inquiries, really. So right now, we don't have enough man or woman power for all the folks who are interested in taking classes online. We don't have enough follow-up to actually help and get in touch with the folks who've made the inquiry. And they're going to be really helpful in doing that on a larger scale so that we can convert or yield more of those folks who have inquired. Their deal is a split, right? It's a 50-50 split. If we don't get paid, they don't get paid, kind of a scenario. So for some of our new programs, you're going to see more of a split there. We haven't finalized the contract just yet. But when we get there, we'll be glad to share that with you and see who gets what. We needed something because right now we're doing nothing. And so we really wanted to say, okay, well, let's stick our toe in the water. I think SIUE uses this for their master's, their MBA program and some other. They've had some success in doing that in one of their programs. We want to see how far we can get, at least from a marketing standpoint of our programs. And then obviously any type of revenue for us would be good at this point. So we can push that back into some of these other areas. So yeah, in a nutshell, we haven't signed the deal just yet, Jeff, but I can keep you, I think you and I meet tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, or Thursday. Are we meeting, or am I dreaming? Aren't we getting ready to meet?
I just emailed Jody because I didn't see anything on my calendar, and I was asking if it was on my end.
Yeah, I thought I saw your name somewhere in there. So I'll if we are on that calendar, I'll see if I can get a draft of that deal.
All right, sounds good.
I'll be glad to share with you. If not, I will shut up here. And I know that Cheryl, how long has it been now? 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Oh,
You're
you're muted. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I thought I got it.
There you
They
are.
fixed my web camera and now my mouse doesn't
Your
work
mute
right.
goes wrong. Welcome.
Yeah, it was June 15th.
Yeah, so you can imagine. So sure, I'll let you take it away. I know you've got some things you want to
Absolutely. You know, when I was a postdoc, I was in a very large group and we had research group meetings every week. And at the end of the spring semester, our advisor would come in and say, the summer is almost over. And I think when, you know, if you sit there in May and think of all the things you need to get done over the summer, it was true. You quickly understood it was fall. So it does feel like that, even though we're sitting here in July. But I've really, you know, felt like it's kind of been a seamless transition for me. I've enjoyed getting to know people and start working with individuals. With the exploratory studies, as Chancellor Lane mentioned, the students who are coming in with a 275 and above, we are looking at getting them into pre-majors. So there's an opportunity for them to have a sense of community. And these will be broad, like pre-health, so that they can explore what are the degree programs that are there. Maybe they were waitlisted in something, so that we can very quickly, within a semester or a year, get them into a major. But we want to make sure their interests align with the classes that they're taking, so that everything they take counts towards their degree. As Chancellor Lane mentioned, as a parent, you don't have the resources for your student to sit there for a year sort of trying things out. We want them to explore. At the same time, we want them to kind of focus in that area. And it is one of the things that has come up, not only this, but the whole waitlist concept. And so I've been talking to the deans about where are our pinch points? Can we get rid of these wait lists? At the very least, if we have to have them, we need to be earlier in the game about when we talk about those wait lists, and helping students think about other majors that are available, or if you do X, you have guaranteed admission into. This is an important part, I think, of our recruiting, enrollment, and retention strategies. And so certainly working with VC Williams, collaboratively thinking about the whole process of how we message to students, attract them, retain them, and ultimately we want to graduate them in a timely manner. So it's exciting work. We're looking at streamlining admissions requirements. That, you know, every college sends a memo to the admissions office, but a lot of them say the same thing. So we want to make sure whatever those admissions requirements are, that our recruiters can very easily talk about them. Not this or this and that, but this is what you need to come to SIU. That we want you here, and there's an opportunity for you to pursue the major of interest. And, you know, I've had a unique experience this year because our daughter heads to college in the fall. So I've got to be a parent. And from a parent's perspective, if she couldn't be admitted into the major of her interests, we quit looking at that school. Because, you know, it's just, she knows what she wants to do. And if that's not going to happen, then we don't want her sitting there 2 years in some places to find out she can't pursue the major she's interested in. And so I'm using that lens as part of the way I think through some of the things that we're talking about, and I'm seeing from a little bit different perspective. Also talking to the deans about make proposals to us that have high return on investment where we can increase enrollment. You know, with a structural budget deficit, you can't cut your way out of it. You've got to grow your way out of it. You've got to invest your way out of it. And I think we have unique opportunities with the new CFO to really think about how we do that, and making sure that we're looking for new populations. So the extended campus, we had a conversation just yesterday about the Pell eligibility for incarcerated individuals. Can we help people pursue their education so when they return to society, they can be successful? And so thinking about populations that maybe we have not been serving, can we be more effective with those? And then just a few changes that are happening. The assessment director position has been sitting open for a long time. And I think most of you are aware that David Shirley, who is our IEPR, I almost had it right. Lots of acronyms. I actually asked for a list of acronyms when I started because everybody uses something different. My former institution, they kept talking about DFW. And I was like, it's an airport.
Yeah, that's right.
I had no idea what they're talking about. Well, if they had said DFW grades, I would have known. So I do have a list of acronyms there, but with David being our HLC liaison, it doesn't make sense for academic affairs to hire an assessment director. It makes sense for his unit to look at that and make decisions strategically about where are the support staff going to be for these types of efforts. I also found out there's a biosafety officer under the provost's office, whereas all research compliance sits under the VCR. And so that's another position that just needs structurally to be moved so that we align authority and responsibility for these types of positions. And then I think to the delight of VC Williams, I'm happy to have the Center for International Education report to the provost. I feel like I have a skill set in this area coming out of the graduate side, work a lot with international students, you know, visas, recruiting, how faculty develop 2+2 and dual degree programs. And so I feel that's a really academic endeavor in many respects, study abroad. And so I'll be working with Dr. Lee to see, because he's restructuring right now his positions based on the budget that exists, how we can strengthen our international student population. That is an important area of, I think, growth for us. Why the country, you know, lost a lot of that population. It has been coming back, and I don't think we've been as strategic there to be part of that regrowth of those students coming. And one of the things that I find that many of those students think is important, you know, not only is it the faculty reputation and the program reputation, but a safe campus. Because what they see sometimes of the US, there's a misunderstanding that there are very safe campuses in this country where they can come and have a sense of community and thrive as well and work with outstanding faculty. So that's just kind of a snippet of the things that I'm already seeing and the kind of approaches. I will be putting together a group of faculty, and so we'll have some discussions about that, looking at the Imagine 2030 strategic plan and designing the academic initiatives that go with that. So whether it's a whole academic affairs strategic plan or really it is strategic initiatives that align with that plan. Somewhat it's semantics, but I've already kind of pulled out the things that are there because there's a lot of academic affairs parts in that plan, as you would naturally expect, but building out more specifics with the faculty and having those discussions and having the metrics. That's why many years ago, I found out about institutional research offices 2 institutions ago, and they're like a hidden gem at the university. So as the chancellor keeps talking about it, everybody's going to want David's time. But for those of us who really want to make data-informed decisions, and many times the data will show you something than what you might intuitively think, it's just a wonderful way to approach things. And so when we have data like that, we can actually show the faculty who have worked faculty, staff, students, and alums, community members worked really hard on a strategic plan. And we want to be able to show that we're accountable and that we are actually making progress. And so we'll have academic initiatives there as well that will be able to demonstrate the progress that we've been making over time. So people can see that it's tangible and it's a living document. It's not a doorstop. In many institutions, it is a doorstop, but here it's very much a living document. And I'm happy to take any questions. I will tell you, I'm still pretty new, so I don't know everything yet. And I'm, learning the culture of a new institution. It's very important to be respectful of that. The institutions look a lot alike on the surface, but they're certainly not in how they operate.
I don't know if I answered, and thanks for that, Cheryl. Dr. Lee, you mentioned, I didn't answer your second question. International student, Cheryl actually touched on. In that recruiting of international students, that's going to be a big piece. We talked a couple weeks ago about we have a representative or person, an agency that we work with to help us attract more students, but we're looking obviously China, India, South Korea, Africa, Vietnam. There's some other areas that they're focused on as well. Just wanted to add that.
Dr. Lee, go ahead.
Thank you, Johnson and welcome you here, Provost Tucker. Thank you very much for your introduction and information. Just two comments, no question, two comments. Okay. First of all, when we talk about enrollment, actually, we talk about both retention, in addition to recruitment, absolutely retention, graduation, or persistence rate, very important. And yesterday I checked the Power BI, the data, which is updated almost every week or every few days as I use Power BI. And our retention rate in the past 5 to 8 years, between 68 to 75. And also graduation rate, pretty much less than 50%. And this brings us to the second comment, okay, which we are working on. I remember 3 years ago, faculty senate started a resolution on institutional ranking and education quality. And we, in fact, in the past 1.5 years, we had 2 other faculty senators work on that. Then last semester, both Inan and I took over. So we focus on 3 areas, as I reported today. One area, a group of faculty, student, administrator working on student success and support. Absolutely, it's relevant to students' retention, graduation rate. And as I talk with some of our faculty members, administrators, and students, we are now dictated by U.S. News World Report. However, this is a good opportunity for us to examine the area. So that's area 1, a common, okay. And second, okay, academic reputation and relationship. Absolutely, it's important. As you know, we have some wonderful programs. We need to work together with the marketing communication office to promote that, because U.S. News World Report, obviously they rank it based on our information by other peers. And the third area is faculty compensation and faculty quality and faculty student ratio. So, and I know Inan, she's not here, Dr. Inan Jokovsky, who is the Vice President of the Senate, she's not here. And in fact, she is the co-facilitator of this area. And in order to raise the rank institutional ranking and education quality, absolutely compensation is very important. I know in the past year, faculty senator had worked with the provost office on the compensation or internal equity adjustment. So maybe that's an area we'll continue to work on. Again, these are just comments, no questions. Thank you, and welcome you here, Provost Tucker.
Hey, Dr. Lee, just to piggyback on that, So we have the document. This is something that Dr. Morris and a few others were working on for the faculty equity, the salary equity piece. So the timing on that is this fall when people return. We're doing our work on this end to look at comparing that data that was sent to us by that committee, which was very helpful, by the way. So we'll put a little more on top of it so we can see exactly where the equity issues or the internal salary equity issues exist among faculty within the ranks. And so that's some work that this fall, I'm hoping we can get that off of the plate this fall. We just got hung up on summer, but I think we'll be able to get it done this fall. And the other piece too, I'll send you this chart. We covered it today. I'll send you this chart today that kind of focuses on that retention piece, where you get a sense of where we are 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks out, and give you an idea about where we're up, where we're down. You see the green and the red. We go over this in cabinet each time that we meet. So as you mentioned, looking at the rubrics for our rankings and everything else, what you're going to find, I think, with Cheryl here now and with David and others, we're going to have a much tighter process that looks at the information that we give to these folks who are asking us for information, who eventually rank us or, put us in these categories. Before, I think, unfortunately, we've kind of left it to folks to just check the box. Here it is. And in some cases, we probably underreported some things that hurt us. So I think you're going to see a much more streamlined process that's a little more scrutinized before it actually goes out to some of those entities that like to rank us. So we're going to work on that. Just wanted to add that. Dr. Wang, sorry about that.
Oh, hi. First, I want to say welcome, Cheryl. I'm computational chemist, and hopefully we'll see you face in face soon. I would like to piggyback what Chancellor Lin talked about, Dr. Lee talked about, and also Pearl talked about, in terms of retention, student graduation rate, these things. I just want to talk to about my personal initiative that I had a chance to talk to IDHE liaison, she is Stephanie, I think it's Stephanie Bernatech. She has money in terms of using IDHE money to have a developing mentoring program. In April, I had a chance to talk to her. We said we are SIUC campus are interested in particularly mentoring students who are undecided because they have loss of sense of direction, or even a lot of high school students, they really do not know exactly what they want to do. If we have a little bit of mentoring on that direction, seems to be helping us in terms of retention. And she is very interested in what she previously IDHE focused on is mentoring high school students, middle school students. I want to add that component to it. And then she seems to be very interested. So that was last April. And then for the fall semester start in September, I plan to talk to her a little bit more. Hopefully, she can budgeting a little bit more for the future, so we can just get we say that I said probably as you see, I haven't talked to you guys, but I think you would be interested in a piloting, try out this program, see how it goes, how far we can go in that. So that will probably tie into the initiative you have in mind for that. I'll keep you informed on the progress, how much we can do on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you can keep us, the timing is perfect on that, by the way. And yeah, if you can keep us connected in with that, that would fit in that exploratory piece that we talked about. And one other thing that came up at the retreat was our need to, and this is probably in Cheryl's world when she gets that Center for success or that director in place to help all students, but we talk about supplemental instruction and how that could also be a real big game changer in some areas. So the timing on this is really good to focus on these retention efforts.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. So when next time when I talk to Stephanie, I'll mention
you.
that. It seems like they are going to make a new kind of a budget to get money for this piece of kind of legislation or something. Yeah, they do. Thank you.
Very much appreciate that. And many of you might remember mentoring is a kind of a theme in my entire career. I think it's very powerful. And you will see in working with faculty and academic leaders, we will have a focus on retention and ultimately graduation with new initiatives. Because I think if we look at our data, we have incredible opportunity there to improve that. And many times it does not take a heavy lift, that there are so many students that just need, whether it's a little bit of financial assistance, a little bit of academic guidance, encouragement, potentially to come back and just complete those degrees. And the hope is that we will have a structure in place that helps them not have to come back, that they're going to graduate before they sort of stop out. And so, combination of hybrid or online classes, that kind of individualized attention. What can we do in your degree plan to make sure you can get from A to B and actually leave here with a degree? So I'll be excited to work with you and also looking forward to the initiative that you're talking about.
All right, are there any more questions for the Chancellor or the Provost? Right, well, thank you both very much for being here. It is much appreciated, especially Provost Tucker. Again, we are so excited that you're here, and I look forward to talking with you one-on-one and working with you throughout this year. So thank you. If there are no other questions, then the only thing we have left is adjournment. So can I get a motion to adjourn? So moved by Li Cheng.
Second.
Seconded by Yu Ting. All right, thank you guys again for being here in your July, and for most of us off contract. We really, again, appreciate your work. We will be here again next week for the full Senate meeting, where hopefully I will see most of you. I'm not sure, Provost Tucker, if you were able to make to the, we'll be able to, I don't think so.
Unfortunately.
So we will definitely miss you, but you'll be part of many other meetings going through the future. So with that, we'll see you guys next week, and thanks again.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody. All right.